Okay, everyone. The agenda for today is to go through our bishop's statement that he released yesterday. If you've not seen it already, it was posted to the diocesan Facebook page. And I would recommend, if you haven't already, if you've got a Facebook account, subscribe to the diocesan Facebook page. It's available both in English and in Spanish. And you can check in on the diocesan website, which is thankfully just recently updated, both with things related to COVID-19, but also just it's better all around. We'll look at the
bishop's statement was just added in the last 10 minutes to the diocesan website as well. So,
yeah.
Daniel,
Yeah.
This is Susan Turner. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes. If maybe, I don't know where the background noise is coming from, if it's from one of the other, DREs or whatever, if they could maybe mute their phones, or
Yeah.
I just unplugged my desktop phone.
If you're unfamiliar, guys, with what we're using with Zoom, it's possible both to turn off your video feed or to mute yourself. All of us are working primarily from home, or from an office where there might be other noises, so you can mute yourself. I can also mute everyone, but I prefer not to, because I'd like for you to be able to respond.
Mute.
Okay, so we'll look at the bishop's statement. We'll respond to any questions or concerns you might have in that regard. Then we're going to look at some communication tools. Eric Dooley, the lead developer for Catholify, is here to talk about some ways in which you could use their free app to connect with your families, to encourage prayer and study during this time. We've got some messaging templates that we put together that you could use for your programming or for your parish to send out things by way of social media or email. And, Alex and I are going to offer ourselves. We're no great IT specialists, but if there are any folks at parishes who are thinking about what they want to use for live streaming, for video conferencing, and they want somebody to bounce ideas off of, they want some consultation, we're going to have a sign-up genius. So if you want to sign up for a time, we will connect with you and we will spend time with you and we will talk through your needs and what options are available to you. Also, we'll look at some catechetical resources today. Alex has written an article at Bishop's behest. It's going to be in the next One Voice, but it includes a lot of good resources that you can share with families and students from home that they can use together. We're also going to look at shared resource folders. I'm going to share these Google folders with you that we can all use. So as we develop things for this time, or if we continue to use things we already had during this time, it's possible to drop these into content area specific folders like confirmation or youth ministry, and other people can find it. So we can sort of crowdsource what we're using. And then we'll close with a prayer. So any questions? And again, we'll have Q&A afterwards, mainly once we stop the recording. Sound good?
Great.
Sounds good.
So here's Bishop Baker's statement. It's only the portion.
It's a very young-looking Bishop Baker.
There's Bishop, yeah, looking good. So some of this will both immediately impact our priests, our pastors. Some of it will impact us. If you don't know, the celebration of the Mass is suspended, at least until Palm Sunday, at which time it will be considered if the suspension is relieved or if it's extended. Bishop makes a point, and it's something that each of us as parish leaders can do, that it's a divine command for us to keep the Sabbath day holy, but it's the church's instruction that the way we do that is to go to Mass on Sundays. So we can't go to Mass on Sundays right now. There are other ways to keep the Sabbath holy. And so we can share resources with people. We can point people to ways to watch the Mass, ways to study their faith, ways to pray with their family or individually to fulfill the divine will.
Yes, yes. So,
pastors and administrators are encouraged to have their churches open. So even though we're not having masses, Bishop recommends keeping a period of time at least when your parish could be open to people who would want to individually come in and pray. in order to do that, there'll still have to be some kind of protocols or procedures to kind of wipe down doorknobs, in public spaces. I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think people will be getting stir crazy, and they will also be wanting to spend time before our Lord in the Eucharist. And so, just check in with your pastor on that. The next one is regarding priests and their obligation for celebrating the Mass, so we don't have to talk about that today. It says, where possible, priests might seek to broadcast or live stream their Masses to help parishioners remain connected. This is exactly the thing that later we'll talk about. If there's any desire to do that, but you haven't had the practice in doing it, Alex and I would be happy to talk with you and your pastor about ways that you can do that, or just some tools at your disposal, both free and paid. Bishop is also planning to offer a live streamed Mass at 11 a.m. From the Cathedral of St. Paul. I think it'll probably be posted to the diocesan Facebook page, and he's going to pray. His intention is going to be for all of the priests and pastors of the diocese as they work to serve the people of God here in our local church. So that's going on. Bishop has asked that the confessionals not be used to hear confessions, but that priests be creative in making the sacrament available. I saw a post yesterday where a priest has already started to work out a procedure like this in another diocese, and he was having drive-through confessions.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun things that we can consider. I don't know if that's the right fit for your parish, but that's
yeah. Father Jerebic is working on a system using the front porch, or the back porch, I should, at the cathedral office, to have like a on-air light to tell people like stop, go, so they can come through and kind of leave the space open. And I know that EWTN also is, for the time being at least, going to be keep the St. Michael Confession Chapel open, and they've arranged the benches and the seats in that room according to the county guidelines for keeping safe distance and limiting the number of persons in a room. So there are definitely places where that's going to be taken care of for you.
That's awesome. And I would just recommend, don't use a bullhorn. Use social distancing. The last two were related to weddings. Weddings, it's recommended that they not be celebrated during Lent in the first place, but if they were exceptionally put on a calendar, Bishop had some provisions about the number of people. You can look at that if you need to. The next one is also about anointing of the sick. That's related to our priests. Funerals. In fact, this is going to affect us very personally tomorrow. If you guys would all remember in prayer, our boss, Dr. Anders, his father passed away this weekend and is having his funeral tomorrow. And it's going to have to follow these procedures tomorrow. Be an open air graveside ceremony. There's going to be mainly a procession by car. So that's the recommendation during this time. Bishop is recommending the delay of baptisms unless it's necessary because of danger of death or exceptional circumstances. And there's some limits about the number of people who should be there. And we all know too, ordinary celebrant for sacrament baptism is a priest or deaconess clergy, but anyone can baptize. If folks are fretting over that, tell them, Jesus left us the words, the end of Matthew's gospel. We know how to do it. Holy water fonts are to be emptied, cleaned out, disinfected, and all of the things that we're involved in. The parish programming is suspended for the time being. So do you guys have any initial comments, concerns, questions, applications in your parish that you'd like to talk about? And remember, this is the portion of time where we are recording. So go ahead. Not everybody at once, though. I'll put a countdown in my head. Okie doke. We'll get back to it. Eric, you still on the line?
I am. I had you guys, I muted myself so you couldn't hear screaming children. So I apologize if.
Okay, so Eric, I'll introduce you. Eric is the developer, designer of Catholify,
I'm in my van in the basement.
free application. There he is, hiding from his children.
It's my office moment.
Yeah. Okay, so Eric is going to share his screen. He's going to walk you through some of the ways in which you might want to use Catholify, both individually and in your programming, to pray, to study, and to connect with your families. So, take it away, Eric.
Thanks, Daniel. Let's see. Do I need to request screen share? Here we go. Daniel, give me just a moment. My Mac requires permissions to share my screen, and I have to close Zoom and reopen it. So I'm going to step off the meeting for just a second, but I'll be right back.
We'll skip ahead to the next thing and we'll come back.
Yeah,
Awesome.
do that. Sorry, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay,
Okay.
no problem.
Take your time.
Okay, so there's Catholify. The next thing, guys, is we've created some shared Google folders. Immediately after this meeting, we'll send links out to you about. I'll click on this one. Can you see this folder?
Yep.
Yes.
So this is a combination, and we'll continue to add things to it, and you are welcome to add to it yourself. So if you develop some messaging for your parish, if you develop some ads that you're putting out on social media or in other, online formats, please, drop stuff in here. There's some things that we're making locally like this.
Daniel, for the uninitiated, how do we access that?
What's that?
For the uninitiated, how do we access that?
How do you access this folder?
Yes.
After this meeting, I will send you an email with a link, and you'll click on it.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So let's say, for example, you want to send some updates out from the parish. This is a document that you could just copy and paste from. And it's got, some things that you can recommend. It's got guidelines from the CDC and from the WHO. It's got a link to how to make an act of spiritual communion. But it's just there. And you could change it as you'd like, but it's something to start from if and when you need to send out messages, if you have not already done so.
I'm back.
All right, are you back? May I ask a quick question? How many of you so far, apart from letting your families know that things are canceled, have sent something to your families, like talking about things more broadly, besides cancellation?
I have. I am sending an email out tomorrow with ways that you can keep holy the Sabbath day. It's going to have the bishop's statement in there, and we're also going to do a virtual youth group through Project YM. They're doing this massive event, and it's going to be weekly. So I'm getting that going. So that's going out tomorrow.
Okay. Would you go into a little bit more detail about that, Carol, the Project YM thing?
Sure. I don't have tons of information, but I'm on their mailing list, a blogger for them. And they're doing, it's just going to be an hour online starting this Sunday. It's 7 to 8 Central Time. And there's a link, and I can forward the email to you too, Daniel, for distribution. You sign up your parish, and then they'll send you another link that just tells you how to get people connected. And it will have games, music, and really top-notch Catholic speaker. So it's
Carol, could you email me that link? for that email?
Sure, I can.
Because we'll
the-
get to it in a few minutes with our how to do church at home in quarantine resource guide. I'd like to add that in there for
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, okay.
So I've already signed up our parish, so I have the link for Sunday, and I can share that as well. But you could also send parish for it. It is a free event, and they're doing it weekly, I guess, until we're able to meet again. But they are asking for donations because they've had thousands of parishes sign up, and now they have like a bandwidth issue. So yeah, I'll send the email though right now, Alex.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any kind of messaging that you've sent out thus far to your families apart from cancellation notices?
I've sent out the SMORE newsletter
Mm-hmm.
with links to, just the diocese website, the EWTN, Daily Mass, and different apps too, Catholify, the Laudate app, Formed, just a bunch of different resources that they could use.
Yeah, I think I there's I no way want to try to make lemonade out of the lemons of COVID-19, because there's a lot of people who could be in danger of really suffering from this. I do think at this time, though, the families that we usually work with, who are usually so agitated by their schedules, are not going to be. They are going to be a captive audience, literally, in a way that we've never experienced. And so this is a time of opportunity too. This is a time when I know many people will be turning to prayer and maybe have an opportunity for deepening conversion, because they're taking things more seriously. I think they're also going to be more attentive to what you have to say. So anyhow, Eric, are you able to share your screen now?
Yes, and I'll need to step off soon. So I think
Okay.
I'm good now. If you
Go.
guys can see this.
Hey.
Yeah.
Great. So thank you guys for this opportunity. I just wanted to showcase some of the things we have in Catholify, if you weren't already aware. It is first and foremost a strong devotional companion. You've got a lot of great prayer resources in here on the resources tab. Our live adoration feed, the Chapel at OLS, is temporarily suspended, but we've pointed to another feed that is online. So adoration is there. We have the Catechism and the Bible and a lot of great things. The Rosary is nice. It lets you slide your beads as you go. Maybe some of you already have Catholify, so I won't spend too much time on the resources that you can explore. Really what I think is powerful in this time is the prayer intentions and the group messaging platform that we have that is based around prayer sharing and scripture sharing. So here on the Pray tab, you can manage your intentions, and I'm simulating as Jenny. I hope she doesn't mind. These are just some example intentions that we have in here, and you can add them as you go. And I'm showing you that here because you can start to do a prayer session and swipe through them when you're in personal prayer. But the other more powerful part of that is that you can take these same prayer intentions and share them inside of your messaging groups. So let me show you more about the groups. From the top left here is your little inbox, and this is going to feel very similar to Facebook Messenger or GroupMe or things like that. So here are some example groups I have in here, and these are groups that you can create as many of them as you need by clicking this little button here, and you would give it a name and hit save, and then you would see it in your inbox just like this. And so if we look at this test group, well, that doesn't let's say, here's an example of like a young professionals Bible study with just some sample data in it. So this is obviously it's a communications platform. It's one that as you type, it starts to detect scripture references and things, so you can link people to the rosary, and it takes you back to the rosary that you saw. But even like, you know, scripture references, it'll help you complete verses and share them. And then these are clickable. You can be taken straight to the Bible. So it's really, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's like a Catholic group me, you know, so it has a lot of these tools. We've got the Divine Mercy Chaplet in here. And a lot of these great things are already baked in as you type. And going back to those prayer intentions, when you hit this plus sign here, you can add an intention. And these, again, are the ones that you saw there from my personal list that I may want to share in a group. Or you can start typing a new one, you know, and you can add it retroactively. And do you want to add this to your personal intentions or just here in this group? We'll say no. But the difference here is instead of just hitting like, you can actually react in prayer. And we have here some examples of some quick prayers that you can add. And then those are actually notifications that the recipient would receive that said, you know, Eric just prayed a Hail Mary for your intention. So we're building an interactive space where we can gather, but gather in prayer, not just in conversation. And that's something that Catholify has been trying to really grow, is sort of this social prayer network, not a social media network. And we think it starts with the small group messenger, which is why we've released this back in January. And it's something that we really encourage you guys to utilize at any scale, you know, in your family, in your parish, in your youth group. And the last thing you'll want to know is these dots up here, how you invite people. So if you hit the dots and you hit invite, you can share a code in person. If they already have the app installed, they can enter the code. Or most likely what you'll do is share a link with friends. And this is something you can copy or hit the share button and share it via email or even group me if you're already in one, Facebook, what have you. And anyone who clicks this link from their phone will be instructed, it'll walk them through getting the app, creating an account, and then ultimately being thrown into that group with you. Or if they already had the app installed, it would just take them straight into the group. So that's how you can invite people into your groups, so that you guys can start having these prayer threads, these conversations, and prayer chains with everyone. The last thing I'll show you is that what we're still currently working on is back here on the prayer tab. We're hoping to have this ready as soon as possible, that you'll actually see a feed of prayer without needing to create a group. That is just prayer at your parish level, prayer at our diocesan level, or the Catholify community at church, at large, the whole church. We're hoping to also have events ready. So if you wanted to start a novena or something interactive that you can invite people to, that has a recurring ongoing sort of prayer, that you could get those reminders in the app, hey, it's about to start, that kind of thing. And then of course the people tab is more like a direct prayer. If someone did not request an intention necessarily, but you just want to send them a little pick me up, you can just sort of tap someone and say, I want to pray for you right now, and they get a notification. So these are sort of the things we're working on to build a space of prayer that is social and connected. And I've given Daniel a video tutorial of the messenger. If that was a little too fast, I do need to step off here in a minute. But we have a recording that goes through these steps a lot slower, and it's on YouTube, and we'll make sure you get that training video. These cards at the top are our ongoing Lent Fit challenges. The actual app will show you the real ones, but you can open these, and they're little encouragements, and you can say I did it, and just sort of join the church and these little prayer challenges, and you'll see the little number here of how many other people have done it. It shows you how many people are in the app with you praying at this moment. Yeah, I think that's largely what we have going on.
Hang on, Eric, you forgot to mention Catholify is the novena for it's the pandemic prayer, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it. And so Eric and Jenny are live broadcasting a rosary at 6 o'clock through the rest of the novena. And I believe we're also going to do it through Instagram today. So that's a great way to pray together using the Catholic.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Eric and I had talked before this video conference to say in our diocesan code of conduct, there's not yet any definition about interaction online between adults and minors. But there is a policy in the school's documentation about what that looks like. And I'm just going to propose for our purposes that we adopt that. And what it says is, and it's a principle that we're all aware of, which is non-isolation. That if we create small groups, if we are working with young people, that it's always at least 2 deep with adults. Just like if this were a car, just like if this were a classroom, that we don't isolate with young people.
I do need to step off at this time.
Thank you,
Thank you
Eric.
guys for having me, and just let me know how I can continue to be of service for all of you in the diocese.
No, thank you so much, Eric.
God bless y'all.
Thank you.
Bless. Bye. All right, just before we move on from that, do you guys have any thoughts, reactions, any ways that you think you could see some application of using that in your own parish or in your own programs?
Daniel, at St. Francis in Tuscaloosa, we were on a video call this morning, and we had said that we're going to promote Catholify in our parish, especially for Friday for the Bishop's Day of Prayer, as far as like using the Divine Mercy Chaplet and the Rosary, and felt like that was a really good way to give people those resources.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Tara. Anyone else?
We were using Catholify for our catechist. We have a group. Is there a limit to the number of people who can be in a group? I mean, do you propose like a group with as many parishioners who can get in it, or is it better to keep it small?
I'd like to speak to that in a couple of minutes when we move on to our resource guide issue, if we can hang on to that question for just a moment.
Okay. All right, so let's keep moving, guys. I'm going to share my screen again. Let's see. So we're not looking at Project Plan. Okay, so this is assistance with remote technology. If in your parish, you guys have not made use of video conferencing before, live streaming, anything like that, and obviously you're ahead of the curve because you're here. But if you know somebody in your parish who may need some assistance, if it's your pastor, if it's a parish secretary, if it's your catechist, Alex and I are going to have the sign up form. You can click, it's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/remote tech assist. If you type that or click that, it'll take you to a sign up genius form, and you can sign up for a time, and we will just do a little consultation with you. We'll ask some onboarding questions. We'll ask what your needs are, and we'll try to tell you a menu of options that may be available to you, things that are both free and those that are paid. And we can walk you through some of the initial implementation of trying to use those resources, because we're going to have to start using them if we weren't already using them, and we want to reach out to people while we're apart. These are our best tools to do it. Do you guys have any questions about that? Okay. Then I'm going to hand it over to Alex. So go ahead, Alex.
All right. So just before we really dive in on this one, just to wrap up that conversation on technology, I know there was that question about what's the best method to use Catholify, whether it should be in a large group or in a small group. And some, for one thing that Daniel and I are not afraid to say is, I don't know. So if we come to a technical issue that we don't know the answer to, I will say, I don't know, but I will find out. So that's something that we're both a bit geeky, and we don't mind digging into things we don't know about yet. I think one of the best posts that I've seen on Facebook or any social media in the last couple of days was Father Anthony Weiss from out in Winfield posted a picture of his shopping cart in Walmart as he was buying a camera tripod to set up his live stream of Mass from his parish. I think that's exactly the kind of thing that people need to see, is that we're trying. And if the stream doesn't work, it doesn't work. But they want to know that these things are being worked on and are being attempted. And then, you know, as we go through this resource guide, certainly some of those technology options are not on this guide, but they will be in we're gonna, you know, in that folder that we provide to you all, because the biggest issue right now that one is facing is this sort of simultaneous problem of too much information, but also not necessarily information that they find helpful, right? And so every organization, hotel, every restaurant, everyone who's ever taken your email address at the cash register is flooding your inbox with their response to COVID-19. So we're getting inundated with information about COVID-19 mostly from people we don't care about. And then we often find ourselves on pins and needles. I spent most of the last 24 hours answering concerns and questions regarding diocesan social media, which isn't my job. But it was the need people had. No, they wanted information. So if I could make a recommendation, it would be, don't overload your people with information, but do communicate with them regularly. They need to hear from you all the time that something's happening, something's being done, someone's taking care of them, someone's aware of what's happening. And if that's on your diocesan, your parish Facebook group or Facebook page, or in a daily email, or a flock note blast, or a text message, don't overdo it, but make sure people know that you're there and you're listening and that you're available to them, where to go. And this is a really good opportunity for us to establish, we all try, you know, many ways to get a hold of the people in our parishes. And I know from my experience, you know, no matter what you try, people say they didn't hear, they didn't know. You know, you could send an email, I didn't get it. You send a text message, I never got it. It was in the bulletin, I don't read it. It was in the announcements, I didn't hear it. I sent up smoke signals, it was cloudy. You know, like everybody's got a reason why. So this is a place where we can actually say to people, listen, we've established these channels of communication for these moments when we really need them. And it's not that we're being opportunists of the COVID-19 situation. It's that we're able to demonstrate for people in this situation the absolute need to make themselves available for communication from us. Because when times like this happen, they want it and they feel the need for it. And when they don't get it, they feel sad and upset and alone. And so this is a way for us to kind of assert, listen, this is how our parish is going to communicate with you the most regularly, the best, most up-to-date information. And that way, you know, we can start to demonstrate that we've had this in mind all along. We've been trying this all along, and this is how we're going to do it.
Hey,
for
Alex,
bishops, yeah.
Alex, I think Christina's been trying to say something.
Oh,
yeah, I'm
okay.
just going to re-echo. So having been a part of wartime communications as well as emergency response stuff, the biggest thing that we can all do is to try and integrate our communications and really working with your pastor and your staff, you know, so that it's like you become a part of whatever is being sent out by the parish. So there should be one voice. All that one voice should be integrated into one type of communication, whatever that's going to be, and everybody is doing that. So as Alex said, you don't get inundated. You know, people aren't going, gee, what do I do? But then also it's to ensure that it's a consistent message that is clear and does not have any discrepancies. In other words, there's not a time or a date that is off and people are confused because they're like, well, which one is it? So it's really, really important that within your own parishes that you guys are talking together. And I know sometimes that doesn't happen, but this is an opportunity for us to do that. So, sending something out like at the same time every day, it becomes a source of safety, comfort, and it provides people what they need. So
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I did not say it better myself. All right. So moving on to Bishop's statement, and then basically what we're going to do from here is I spoke with Bishop yesterday morning. Daniel and I had decided to try to put together a guide for many of the things that many of you are already doing. So please don't take this as a we know better and we're going to tell you what to use. So many of you are already doing these steps and these things in the way that works for your parish. But I know sometimes it's just nice to have it consistent, to have it in one place, to have a place where we can share ideas, and just for people to feel, maybe some of us don't think that quickly or don't have that stuff like at the tip of our tongue or on the tips of our fingers to send out right away. So we'll have this ever-growing document. It's going to begin as a one-voice article. It's also currently linked from the diocesan website homepage. I'm considering trying to figure out with our tech people if we can change it a little bit, because it's going to grow and it's going to change as new resources become available. So having it as a static kind of PDF document, I know sometimes means you have to keep downloading new versions. So we will have a web-based version that will be shared with all of you, that will have the most up-to-date links in it as you share some with us. Already in this conversation, I've been taking notes and adding new pieces to it. But the article begins by basically saying, a couple we need to keep straight. And the first is that there's a lot of angst and concern and anger and opinions and worries as to the response to this issue. Many people think it's a way excessive overreaction. Many people think that nobody's taking it seriously enough or doing enough. And in that kind of situation, the typical response is for people to kind of air out their negativity via email or on social media. Typically it's on Facebook, we shouldn't be doing this. This is ridiculous. Even among the bishops around the world, we're seeing complete polar different responses, right? So the first couple of things that we have to keep in mind and just keep reassuring our people is, one is that our bishop is asking us to obey the local ordinances of the civil authorities. This is not about bishop, having an emotional response to mass. This is about bishop asking us, our civil authorities have made a request of us, and because we can accommodate them, we will. That's the gist of what bishop's decision is. It's not any of the emotional kind of angst that are going around, which are reasonable responses on all sides. All the responses are reasonable. I understand that. Maybe some of them aren't reasonable, but to have those responses is normal. But bishop's thing is, this is what we're going to do because this is what the civil authority has asked us to do. And in line with that, and this is where we get into this resource guide, is that the church has wisdom on how to handle these situations because we've done this before, right? I cite in the article just a couple of examples in church history. For one example, the Basil the Great in Eastern Europe during the time of the Cold War, they never had a meeting that 3 sisters at a time, managed to amass hundreds of vocations by just meeting underground and in person, 1 to 2 to 3 people at a time, and they were still able to develop relationships, speak the truth, share the gospel, and gather vocations. In Korea and in Japan, where there was imperial persecution of the church over the course of more than 2 centuries, when the Jesuits finally re-arrived into those places over 2 centuries later, they found active Catholic communities that had been baptizing and catechizing their children without priests, without church buildings, without all the things that we have available to us, without modern technology, without Zoom, without websites and social media. They still managed to do this. And lastly, there's been a lot of quoting of how different bishops and saints have handled plagues in the past. But I like to refer us to St. Charles Borromeo, and who basically instructed the people of Milan to stay home from Mass. On the saints are doing now, and this is a great saint of the church, a hero of the church. One of the most noted names in the Counter-Reformation. He was instructing his people, stay home, And what he did was he had priests go out and say Mass in the street corners where they could hear it from their house. And that brings us to the very first point of our resource guide, which is we have the availability to have people hear Mass from home, from their windows, from their computer, from their phone, from their TV. We have the same thing available to us, but in a much less physically demanding way than Charles Borromeo had available to him. So the first thing we're going to look at is a couple of options for that are in there. A couple of options for how to watch, how to see Mass. It's not exhaustive. It's just a couple of really good ones. If your own parish does it, that's better. Yes, Daniel.
No, I was just going to say, can you share your own screen as you're going through it, Alex?
Yes. Got to make sure I share the right one. There we go. Can you all see this document now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So for the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass, the three options that are out on the internet that seem to be the most commonly watched and the most stable and kind of the most professionally put together are Catholic TV, Word on Fire, which is Bishop, and EWTN. Most people know at least of Bishop Barron and EWTN, and many people are starting to kind of get a little more sense for Catholic TV. The reason that I mentioned these three in particular is that they are not only available via a website. They all have an app, and they all have an app for your Roku or your Kindle Fire Stick or your Apple TV or something like that. So these three options offer many, many ways in which you can observe, you can log in and watch daily and weekly Mass. So if your own parish is streaming Mass, honestly, I'm going to continue to say this. Please, if you can do these things from your church and from your community to your people, that's always better. It's always better if you can do it. However, if it's going to be more of a hassle than it's worth and your bandwidth is bad and the video is going to be cutting out, then maybe offering people one of these options is great. Or maybe you want to say, hey, we'll all watch Mass on a Word on Fire for the daily Masses, but Sunday we're going to live stream from our parish. That way you're only having to deal with that kind of thing once a week. But these are all options that also make a particular note of sharing a spiritual communion description and a spiritual communion prayer during the reception of communion on their televised Mass. I think that's really important for people to get into that habit as they're watching Mass. Another thing to maybe encourage people is it's easy, when you put on Mass on your Roku equipped television and you just go about making your oatmeal and eating your breakfast and opening your mail because it's in the background. So maybe have a few words with people about how to establish a dedicated time and quiet space and pretend like you're literally sitting in church, would be ideal. Moving on to prayer, we want to share people as many opportunities for prayer as they possibly can, especially things that are conducive to family prayer. These are just a couple of options. It's not exhaustive for sure. The USCCB's website has a whole list of Catholic prayers and devotions. Obviously, the link earlier to EWTN. EWTN has a very exhaustive list of prayers, as does Catholic.org. Pray More Novenas is a great one. That's a married couple that have been putting out video-based novenas for a long time. They have these little retreats that you can go on with several videos by noted Catholic speakers, as well as just a whole host of novenas that come right to your inbox to remind you to pray every day, because it's easy to forget. So you sign up for them and you get a daily reminder. And they have a special one available for COVID-19, as does obviously Catholify, we were just talking about, also has one that's available for daily novena this time. We have a link from the diocesan website to Bishop Barron's daily Lenten reflections. And then that content will be changed out for something else come Easter. But that's also something to keep in mind, is just to tell people, listen, just go to the diocesan website. From there, you'll find the day's readings and you'll find these Lenten reflections from Bishop Barron. Stations of the Cross is a big deal. Obviously, most of our parishes have been praying them during Lent, and that's the very first thing Bishop was worried about before even we announced the closing of public masses. He was very concerned about the live stations up at the shrine, and the praying of the Stations of the Cross this coming Friday as part of the day of prayer and fasting. He was concerned that people would not do that since they couldn't go to their churches to do it. So I've linked here 2 different versions. The original kind of architect of the Stations of the Cross is of Assisi, and he had a particular text that he used, and so it's a little different than what most of us are used to. So it's just a nice different way of looking at the stations, a little bit different wording. And then the one that most of us are more used to would be the St. Alphonsus Liguori version. So we've linked those. But in addition to that, for those of our parishioners who have access to things to watch videos, there's a number of really, really nice guided video Stations of the Cross that people can log into, and it makes a bigger deal out of it. And there's images and beauty and nice words and reflections. Bishop Barron's is great. Bishop Robert Reed from Catholic TV has one. Bishop Reed is great. It'll say Father Reed because he wasn't a bishop at the time he made it. Catholic Online has one that's got some beautiful images of walking the streets of Jerusalem along the Via Dolorosa during the stations. And then for your teens and young adults, Busted Halo has this sort of like words on screen video version where they watch a video for each station, and it's kind of like flashy text that some very evocative conversations on the stations. I wouldn't send that out to your standard shows up every Friday for fish fry and stations parishioners. It's a little bit edgier than that, so that would definitely be for a very particular audience. Next, the church typically has defaulted in her history when we're in the absence of going to Mass, kind of our next step of prayer is supposed to be Lectio Divina and the divine reading of the scriptures. So our website, the diocesan website, has the daily readings up there every day. I do like the USCCB's version because it has a calendar. So if you want to go back and look at this past Sunday's gospel, it's easier to do that on the USCCB site than it is on the diocesan website.
And you can listen to it.
That's right. And you can listen to the readings, which is it's just nice. It's nice
And
to do that.
you can switch between English and Spanish on the fly.
Also a big deal because our diocesan website version does not have that ability, and the USCCB's does.
Which one allows you to switch between English and Spanish?
The USCCB.
USCCB.org. You can find the calendar from the main page, or you can just go to usccb.org/Bible. The Hallow app that also has a very nice layout of Lectio Divina, where you can listen to the readings in different voices, and it'll do a little bit of a more explanation, a guide of how to do Lectio Divina. Formed.org obviously has 2 options in this regard that I would really recommend. The first is the weekly gospel one, which is opening the word. It's usually the very first thing you see when you log into Formed. And then they also have obviously the Lectio Divina series if you wanted to send that out. We're going to get into this a little bit later. Right now, while we're on this call, Augustine Institute is doing a webinar of how to use Formed tools. Most of us were trained on Formed on the old platform. And so the tools that are available to use, and even some of the content compared to when we started, is very different. And so we want to make sure we send out to you all some updated information. This is going to be a great opportunity to get individual households to sign up for Formed, not just use it in the classroom.
Excellent.
And then lastly, for Lectio Divina, Ascension Press has a 4-part series that teaches you how and why to do Lectio Divina. Father Mark Toops is great. I would really encourage you to send those 4 videos out to say, in the absence of being able to go to Mass, this is something you can do at home with your family. And this priest describes it and teaches it. It's phenomenal. It's a deep explanation. It's 4 separate videos. It's a lot of content, but he does a really nice job. And it's just something we should be learning about and doing anyway, even when we're not quarantined. Moving along, trying to cut this a little bit shorter because I know I've been going for a while here. Catholify, we just heard from Eric. The power of connecting people on intercessory prayer is we have to keep our people connected. And as much as they need to be communicated from the parish the one voice, which pun intended, as Christina alluded to earlier. They also need to be connected with one another. One of the most telling comments that I've been seeing on our diocesan social media has been, yes, people are upset because they won't be able to go meet their Sunday obligation, which they no longer have because they've been dispensed. But that irksome feeling we have of not being able to get to church on Sunday, yes, people have the desire to receive the Holy Eucharist and that the sense of loss of not being able to do that. There's also a sense of loss people are experiencing of a loss community, of not seeing their fellow parishioners, their brothers and sisters, their friends, the people they normally encounter at church. Now, this is something I think I was talking with Father John Paul from EWTN last night. As Catholics, especially in a predominantly Baptist area, we like to put an arm's length distance between the idea that church is social. We don't like that idea. That's a very Protestant idea, that church is a social club, and Catholics, we do sacraments, we don't do social. It's true. Our preeminent reason for going to Mass on Sunday is to offer the sacrifice of Jesus to God as fitting worship. Yes, okay, we know this. However, sometimes we take that attitude to the expense of the personal relationships, and this is a time where that could really happen. People could really be, we don't offer sacraments, so we'll see you later, and leave them hanging, and then they don't have personal connections and community building. So please do use things like Catholify to build communities. I don't recommend that you build a Catholify group for the entire parish. Here's why. Anyone can say something, and it could be wrong. It could be bad information in the midst of your asking each other for prayer, and now you've got to moderate it. So have the entire parish thing be whatever one mode of communication your parish decides. For Catholify, I would recommend making that something with smaller groupings of people, affinity groups, age groups, parish organizations. Make a group for every class in your PSR of all their parents. Make one for your youth group, make one for your young adult group, make one for your seniors, for your bereavement. Use this as a way to establish your existing groupings to keep them in contact with one, and then use the main outlet for communication is going to be where you share things across the entire parish. That would be my recommendation. Obviously, your pastor and you all will come to a decision for yourselves, but that's my recommendation. Liturgy of the Hours is something we need to be doing. I have a couple of links here that explain it. My favorite thing to do for the Liturgy of the Hours is iBreviary, because it's free and it's really easy to follow. You can pray it online on a website. You can pray it on your phone, on your tablet. You can post the daily office to your website in a little widget, to your parish website or to your parish Facebook. So that one's a really easy one to use. A couple of explanations of how to pray it and what it is are available as well. And then, of course, Magnificat has their modified version of the Liturgy of the Hours. It's a little bit shorter. And they also, in addition to the print version, they have electronic versions and an app that you can also get. So that's another way to and Magnificat is offering free access to the online version of Magnificat during this time when people are quarantined. So that's a really great offer for something people would normally have to pay for. Some catechetical materials. I also already mentioned Formed. We will send out Formed information to you as soon as we have it from them about exactly how to go about getting people signed in best for Formed, and how to share that information on the current update of the platform. If you have questions about how to do things with Formed, please use my email address here, and I will get them answered for you as quickly as I can. Also, I would encourage you to recommend to your families to use the video library on Formed during this time. Everyone's got their kids, when they're not doing homeschool, they're plugged into Netflix. And so this is an opportunity for us to watch faith-filled, edifying movies about the saints and about our faith during this time. Sure, watch those other ones too if you want to catch up on Marvel comic book heroes, whatever. But at the same time, maybe take some of those opportunities to watch movies about St. Ignatius of Loyola or St. Paul or biblical characters that are available there on formed.org. Sophia Institute Press is making some of they have a very specific set of home catechesis lessons about how to deal with the fear of these kind of plagues and pandemics. It would be something that you could send out. We've got some links to, as they make more content available, we'll send that out. Sacred Story is another one that's been publishing some very specific information about free opportunities to have family home catechesis during this time. If you have suggestions on those, please send them to us so we can add them to the list, and we'll continue to send them out as we get them. Obviously, this Project YM thing, I'm going to get the link for that from Carol and add it into the document as soon as we sign off. But there's a book out by Katie Prejean McGrady, who's out of Louisiana. Lent One Day at a Time for Catholic Teens. There is a Kindle version. That would be a great opportunity to send that out to your families, for your teens, to have something to do faith-wise during Lent. And that's where I'm at with that particular resource guide. Daniel, how do we switch back to, to click stop sharing?
Hey,
Do you, any questions?
yes, Alex,
Yes, I hear you.
this is Susan. When did this go out on the website, Seeking the Lord at Home?
This
I'm just
morning,
curious.
about
This
10
morning.
minutes
Okay,
ago.
good. Okay,
Yep.
good. I
mean,
missed that.
10 minutes before we started the conversation, I should say.
Awesome. I'm glad I'm not too behind the curve. Thank
No,
you.
not at all. Not at all.
It's really
Yeah.
good. Thank you. It's excellent.
Yeah, you've done a great job, Alex. Thank you so much.
There's that other document, Daniel, that we received that I think we might want to also put in the folder that's shared. That is far more professionally done and full.
Are we talking about the one from the
full-fledged.
Pastoral Center?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll talk about this stuff now. This is not to duplicate what Alex is doing on the landing page of our diocesan website. This is primarily like under the hood, behind the scenes stuff for us, for parish catechetical leaders, for catechists, to share a link with you so that you have access to these folders, these Google Drive folders, where we can drop some material in there as we produce it or as we find it that might be of use to us. So for example, just before we got into this, this conference call, our Sunday Visitor just sent out this update regarding how to use their Alive in Christ series digitally, with your families during this time. As I get things like that, that's not something that we would want to make available to everyone, but it might be something that's useful for you. And if you find something like that, that's great. I also dropped, just starting to do this, honestly. Carol had given me this wonderful like charism quiz that you can use with teens. She uses it in her confirmation program. It's from Life Teen. But you could give like some resources like these that people could do for their own edification, evaluation at home. And I've got like for RCIA, a couple of presentations in here. These are really just mainly to give an example of the kind of thing that we could put in here. It's not to flesh it out. This is just to be a shared space that we could put things in there. And the thing that Alex was talking about, that he said, it's from the Pastoral Center. It's called Sending Faith Home, a guide for catechetical leaders. It's in here. This is particularly for people who are using the Pastoral Center's resources, but it actually has a lot bigger implication than just that. There's just a ton of good ideas in this document. And I mean, it goes on to recommend how to use the materials that they produce, but it also just has some good stuff in there. So I dropped that in there if you'd like to read through that. Okay. So I can keep going. That's about it. And we kept it within mostly an hour. Like I said before, we'll have like a question and answer time where we can be a little bit more candid after we stop recording. But thank you guys very much for joining us, and we'll stop and we'll say this closing prayer together. Okay. Hey, Brandon, I'm seeing you pop up. Would you mind being the one to pray the divine praises for us to close?
Wouldn't mind, but I have a box it hasn't gone away since I logged on, and it says waiting, and so it's blacked out on my screen.
Oh, well then I appreciate your candor. So
Sorry.
see somebody who can see.
I can see it.
And Margaret, can you see?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, would you close us with prayer?
I will. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Blessed be God. Blessed be his holy name. Blessed be Jesus Christ, true God and true man. Blessed be the name of Jesus. Blessed be his most sacred heart. Blessed be his most precious blood. Blessed be Jesus in the most holy sacrament of the altar. Blessed be the Holy Spirit, the Paraclete. Blessed be the great Mother of God, Mary most holy. Blessed be her holy and immaculate conception. Blessed be her glorious assumption. Blessed be the name of Mary, Virgin and Mother. Blessed be Saint Joseph, her most chaste spouse. Blessed be God and his angels and in his saints. Amen.
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 Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. All right, guys. Well, I thought I had stopped recording before.